Well, a cruise around New Zealand offers a lot of really interesting port destinations.
This has really been probably one of the best port destination cruises that I've ever done around New Zealand.
That's great. Let's talk about where we've been and what some of the opportunities are to sail around this beautiful country.
Let's do it.
Well, welcome back to the channel. I'm Terry with Next Wave Cruising.
I'm Rich with Next Wave Cruising.
And we are here in Auckland in New Zealand on the North Island. But this has been a bit of a journey for us to get here because we started way down at the bottom of the South Island and had, as you said, many really interesting port destinations along the way and enjoyed really all of them. There was something special about this country that you really never get tired of. When we started out, of course, we came across from Sydney, so there were a few sea days. But then when we first arrived in New Zealand, it was really all about the fjords and the sounds at the bottom of the South Island, which are, just cut into the mountainside, and everything is just so beautiful. The areas that we passed by were so picturesque. It was just a day on the ship, and everybody was out taking photos and videos throughout the entire day.
Right. Well, if you've ever been to New Zealand, you know that this is a beautiful country. Everywhere you go, the sights are amazing. And when you go to the fjords, it's like the icing on the cake. It's even better than everything else you've seen.
I think that might be right. So you might be listening for opportunities to visit Milford Sound, Dusky Sound, and Doubtful Sound. Those are the three big areas that people visit that you can basically do on a cruise ship, because you're going to go in like you do in Alaska, or in Norway, go in the little fingers and out, and really just enjoy the day from the vantage point of the ship. And at least at Milford Sound, it was wide enough that the captain was able to spin the ship, and you could get a 360-degree
Well, that was
view.
nice because
Wasn't it beautiful?
Because if you were in your cabin or if you got a good spot on deck, you didn't have to move. You can just set yourself up, set up the camera like I did here. I'll show you. And you just video away, and he just brings it all the way around.
Right, and then you kind of sail through some of the others.
Right.
Go in one direction, which was beautiful. So
It really
that was a fun day.
Yep.
And then we followed up with some stops on the South Island. So we went to Dunedin, which has a lot of Scottish influence.
Right.
In that beautiful railway station that you see, you can see the historic architecture and how well preserved it is. Some beautiful areas downtown.
Right.
And New Zealand is just covered in flowers. I think one of the things we noticed at just about every stop is that there were gardens.
Right.
Some by that railway station. There were botanical gardens in almost every city we visited. And so we got to stop and see a lot of those things and understand what the opportunities are to really appreciate how nature plays out here, how beautiful the weather is and the landscape, and just some unspoiled countryside.
Absolutely, with some sheep scattered here and there.
Oh, more sheep than people, right?
There is, yeah.
Still are.
Yeah.
And that was fun. And then in Dunedin, we also had that experience of going by Baldwin Street, which is the single, straight on steepest residential street, according to the Guinness Book of Records.
Guinness Book of Records says it's the steepest in the world.
So it was quite steep. We didn't have time to go all the way to the top. Some people did, and they enjoyed that. That was quite a hike. But we've got some good photographs of it. And if you have a chance, it's kind of a good novelty. And you wonder, how in the world do people live up there and hike up there every single day?
Well, I wouldn't want to live on a street just because of all the tourists that are in front of your driveway.
Perhaps.
But other than that,
It's quite interesting. But it shows you still how hilly some of that southern island is. Mm-hmm. And then when you leave from Dunedin, you head further north a little bit. Christchurch is another great stop. Now, Christchurch is still recovering in some ways from the earthquakes that they experienced
about 10 years ago,
2010 and 2011. So getting to be about 14 or so years ago. And it had some significant impacts in the downtown area in particular. And as we toured around, we got to see, areas that are being rebuilt, and you can see how modern they are. Mm-hmm. And then a few areas where some of the historic buildings survived. And it was really amazing to see how little, in a way, is left of some of their history that they would have loved to have been able to keep.
Yeah, a lot of it was leveled, and they are pretty much going from scratch. So you see some new architecture with the old architecture, so it's interesting.
It is, and again, we saw some interesting gardens, beautiful flowers when we went off for a little tea room visit.
Oh yeah,
and the walk to get there through the garden was one of the highlights of being down there.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. There are a lot of things you can do and a lot of different kinds of excursions when you visit these towns. So if you have an interest, let us know here at Next Wave Cruising, and we can help you find the right activity and tour that might be just right for you.
Yep.
And then, beyond Christchurch, there's also Wellington going further north. And Wellington, we had that opportunity to get on some e-bikes. It is a windy city.
Yes.
Right? One of the windiest cities, but one of the most beautiful to sail into and out of.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Gorgeous. And getting on bikes with that wind, I was really appreciating the e-bike.
I'll tell you, once you go with an e-bike, I don't think you want to go back. That was just so easy. We went up some pretty steep hills,
And that bike really helped
just
us.
put that thing in turbo and go.
We had such a good time. But it was beautiful because we got to go around some very interesting areas all around the city. We
Right.
could go much further than we could attain on foot.
Oh, sure.
Past the airport, up into the hillside, and then all the way back down to enjoy some ice cream and coffees and
Yep.
treats down by the beach when we were finished.
Yeah, we had a great tour guide on that. Very entertaining. So
Had a lot of great background and information about the legends, about the history,
Right.
and just about his own life, in and around the area and how people enjoy being there and what kind of brings them to Wellington and keeps them there.
Right.
And then we saw people just swimming in that ocean. It was not a pool, it was the ocean.
and it was cold.
And they were having a great time.
Yeah.
They are a little bit more immune to the water temperature
Yeah.
than we are.
Well, it was 17 degrees Celsius, so I wouldn't
Chilly.
touch it.
Not for you. You
Nope.
needed more thermal than that.
Oh,
don't you?
yeah, much more.
But it was really fun just to see people enjoying the weekend, at the beach and around the water. And it was a fun visit.
Yep.
There's a lot to do. There's a national museum there that you'd probably want to check out if you had a little more time. The information center is super helpful. There are a lot of other, even some of the Lord of the Ring studio tours and things like that from some of the inside works and the special effects
Right.
are studios
That's
that are
where they
based
did
in
all
and
the-
around Wellington.
Right, a lot of the interior stuff that was filmed
Not only for that movie, but for other I think,
yes,
films,
for a lot of
Avatar
movies,
and other
right.
things. So,
was done
a lot
in
there.
Wellington. Yep.
so another fun visit. We visited Napier.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Napier makes you feel like you are visiting 100 years ago
Yep.
because most of that town is really all about the 1930s, the very early 1930s.
Right. When they were leveled by
They were.
by earthquakes.
An earthquake that, based on that time period, caused fires because
Yep.
so many of the buildings were stick-built
Just
buildings.
all wood.
And what didn't get, upheaval, from the earthquake didn't touch, then the fires really took that town out.
Right.
And they decided very purposefully to rebuild that town with a theme and a kind of link about the architecture, not just randomly. And they chose Art Deco, which was very popular
At that time.
at that time
Yep.
in the U.S. There was a Spanish influence, and they really picked up all of those elements and have so many beautiful buildings that still feature the stained glass
Right.
and the Art Deco characteristic exterior architecture. So we had some wonderful vantage points up on the top of the hillside looking at
yeah.
the Pacific Ocean.
Yep.
And then some really, really fun opportunities to do wine tasting at the oldest winery in New Zealand.
Oh, that was
Mission
a
Hill.
really
Wasn't that
that was
great?
a really nice place. If
That
you
was
ever get a chance
beautiful.
to go there.
That was great.
That's a keeper. That's nice.
Right. So, in addition to knowing more about Art Deco and the history of Napier, you can have some great wines. It's all part of Hawke's Bay, which is a very special, designated, kind of respected wine area in the
Wine
world.
area, right.
And so there's a lot going on there. And then we also had a beer and cider tasting.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to sample a lot while we were in Napier, and everybody had a good time. Some people went shopping, had
Yep.
lunch. The little town is very appealing, and
It
people
is.
like to stay and linger a little bit even after a tour or an activity.
Easy to walk through. It
Right.
was very nice. Mm-hmm.
Other people did biking there as well and did some biking along the water.
Right.
Which there's a beautiful marine parade, they call it, the main street down by the water.
Right.
And a lot of monuments and beautiful parks and so forth. Really a fun visit for a small little town, but
Right.
it's very welcoming. We also visited Picton. Now that's in another really special wine region in New Zealand, and that's the Marlborough wine region that many
Right.
people in the U.S. are very familiar with when we read the labels of New Zealand wines that
Right.
we might drink, like Sauvignon Blanc and some of the others. And we did a private wine tour.
Right. That was another one that you had put together yourself
That's
and for
right.
our group, and it was
We had
only
just
our group.
16 people in a
So-
wonderful van with a guide for a custom tour, and
Right.
all those things can make the day even more
And
special.
it
But
really
how
was. Yep.
beautiful,
Yep.
how beautiful those wineries are.
Oh, the wineries are beautiful. The people there were so friendly. The glasses seem to have little holes in them, and they tried very hard to keep them filled up.
But
So,
have a sip and then they get filled again. We had a lot of variety and as much wine as we could possibly have sipped on for the day.
Right.
Then the visit to the chocolate factory kind of topped it
Topped it off.
Everybody got their chance to get some gifts or a few treats to take with them
Right.
as we left Picton and that whole Marlborough region. But
Yep.
that's always a favorite. It's
That
a
was-
beautiful, beautiful countryside.
if you like wine, that is a place to make sure you go to for your wine tasting.
Absolutely. Now, the other thing that you can appreciate as you get further up on the North Island, north of Napier, is you can go to Taronga, Rotorua area. There are geothermal areas there.
Oh, the spot.
There
yes.
are redwood forests. There are some beautiful lakes, and there's also the movie set from the Lord of the Rings
Lord
and the
of Rings
Hobbit.
and the Hobbit. And when you first hear about it, you go, really, we want to go to there? Do it, because you will not be disappointed. It's amazing. It's the actual set. It is not it's not a reconstruction. It's not made out of cardboard. It's not just the front facade elevation. It is the whole area of where they film those things. It's really kind of cool.
Right. So it's really the exterior landscape of the Shire
Right.
that was featured across all the movies of the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit series, and to have it preserved the way that it is all these years later, and the number of people who continue to visit there, it is one of the most popular destinations. Do you remember how many people they said visit that movie set every year?
Over 600,000 visitors a year go through that.
It's just that popular.
That movie set.
And they make it a lot of fun. It's
Yep.
an experience. It's not just a tour.
Right.
And everybody that came with us said it was a real highlight. We
Right.
had such a great time.
Right. Even people that have never seen the movies, they just thought it was fantastic.
The attention to detail, the artistic nature of it, and the beauty again
Yeah.
of the landscape out
yeah.
in Matamata, which
And
is
that-
the area where it is.
And that's on still a current working farm, and
That's
you know
right.
it's you can see the sheep throughout the hillsides and everything, and so it's a working farm, but yet this one little section is carved out for tours.
It's a beautiful, beautiful place to visit. Would you go again?
I would, because you know what, the last time we went, we thought we saw it, but over the last year they have built these. What are they?
They are almost like life-size hobbit holes,
The
like
hobbit
the little
holes.
homes that you now can really stand in and go into,
You go into them, and
not
they
just
and it's
looking at them from the outside.
and they have like maybe 6 or 7 rooms inside there
huge.
that are all decked out with the furniture, the books, the clothes, the everything about it, everything, all the attention to detail inside these little hobbit huts.
Everybody was just doing an eye
yeah.
all the way through. We
Yep.
had such a good time. And then you finish up by going to the Green Dragon, the inn that's featured in the stories.
Right.
And you can have a
Get it-
little pint there.
Get a pint, right? That's
get
part of
some
the tour. Right.
beer or cider or ginger beer.
Right.
Whatever you might want. There were some snacks if people wanted them. And it was a great way to sit down, relax, and just sort of sum up a really fun visit to the Hobbiton movie tour
Yep, that was
set.
great.
That was amazing.
Right.
And now, here we are, back in Auckland. And for us, Auckland is the end of our New Zealand trip.
Right.
Sometimes it's just part of the journey because some of the ships that come around New Zealand will go back to Sydney.
Right.
And you might get off in Australia. But there are also these one-way itineraries, and
Right.
this is one of them. And getting off in Auckland is another really great opportunity. Not to miss it, don't rush to the airport.
Right.
It's a beautiful harbor city built all around water
Right.
with islands to visit, more North Island wineries like on Waiheke Island.
More wineries.
We've
So
been
if
to
you're
more
looking for that,
wineries,
yep.
but we're here on Devonport, which is just a short ferry ride away from the main city.
Right.
You can take harbor tours. There's, of course, the hop-on, hop-off buses and
Sure.
half-day tours that you can take back on the mainland.
Right.
But so much of Auckland is built on and around the water. And
Well,
so there's so much water history here. It's just a gorgeous place
Yeah.
to visit.
And the nice thing about coming one way, when we came from Sydney to Auckland, is that we were able to spend more time in New Zealand and get all the way down to the South Island and the fjords. Where sometimes when you're doing the round trips, you might miss a couple.
They have
of
to
ports.
maybe pick and choose which
Right.
parts, but there's a number of great itineraries that feature New Zealand ports. And so if this is on your bucket list, I would say move it high up. It's a place you really don't want to miss. you want to travel and enjoy it while you're active, and you can really, get into all the various things that you can do here. And it can be a very active vacation spot if you want. People do hiking and kayaking and all biking, all
kayaking,
kinds of things.
everything. Yep.
And it's just a beautiful country, one of the prettiest we've ever visited.
It
And
really
if we can help you here from Next Wave Cruising, we can help you find the right ship, itinerary, and timing to get to New Zealand, to appreciate it, and then to talk about all the things you can explore when you get to these beautiful ports. So we hope you've enjoyed our overview and sharing some of the sights and sounds of what we experienced
Right.
on this trip to New Zealand. And when you're ready to book, reach out to us here at Next Wave Cruising. All of our information is right below here in the description to this video. So we hope you'll stay tuned, and we have more things to share. So take a look at the video in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, and we'll catch up with you right over there.
Bye now.